All right, good morning. We're the 2021 Board of Equalization and Review for Union County. We've been appointed by the County Commissioners to hear any and all taxpayers with respect to their concerns and complaints regarding the valuation of the property for tax purposes. Property owners appearing before the Board of Equalization and Review have the right to a fair and equitable hearing. The Board of Equalization and Review has been charged with ensuring that proper legal principles have been applied in a valuation dispute for tax purposes. And here's the format. The clerk calls the case and locates the property or explains the situation if it's personal property. The appellant presents his or her case. The assessor's office offers their defense. Both parties will be given an opportunity to conclude their comments. All questions should be directed to me or to the board. The taxpayer will be notified in writing of the board's decision. By statute, the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to demonstrate that the assessment is erroneous. And I'd ask that you please silence your cell phones. So after we hear all the cases, then we're going to rule on those same cases in that same order after the hearing concludes. All right, let's begin.
All right, you got hearing number 2.
Now we're going to do an order. So call it.
1 is a no show.
Got-
Is that right? Is that
So-
what you wanted? Oh, I thought you meant deliberation. So now tab 2 is gonna be daycare Geraldine and Don King, parcel 09-229-05.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. How are y'all?
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you
well,
doing?
thank
Good.
you. Yourself?
I'd like to correct something. This is not a daycare. This is our primary residence. I think it was a daycare back in the 80s and 90s.
Huh, okay. On Riggin Street?
Yes, sir.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Go ahead and state your case if you would.
Good morning. My name is Geraldine Wheeler King. And I would like to thank you all for having us today. And my case is, we have come to love Monroe and Union County with all its attributes: the friendly people, the beautiful landscape, the manageable traffic pattern, that Monroe makes a great place to live. The Monroe Aquatic Center and Fitness is a real gem for the community. Unfortunately, concerns and issues with Benton Heights that devalue the neighborhood. The roads around the neighborhood are in horrendous shape, causing damage to our vehicles, as mentioned in previous correspondence. The crime in the neighborhood is unacceptable. Many neighbors have had their cars broken into. It is not uncommon to hear random gunfire at night. Just last weekend, we heard over 20 shots. There are multi-family apartments within a block of our house. One at the end of Cherry, and the second one next to our house. Everyone in this room knows that real estate has inflated exponentially in the past 5 years. You have money from up north and out west chasing the housing market, driving prices of homes through the roof. I recently had a conversation with a young lady who put her home on the market at price X. The first day she had 4 couples to get into a bidding war. She sold her house for $40,000 over the asking price. Supply and demand is the name of the game. We were fortunate in buying 402 Riggin Street. We saw the home the night it went out, after it went on the market, having lost 3 previous bids on other homes because too little, too late. We determined to put in a winning bid, thus paying $8,000 over the asking price. As homeowners and taxpayers in Mecklenburg County for over 30 years, we never experienced a price increase similar to this, what you are proposing. And I'm gonna pass these out because I have some additional comps.
Who gets that? Somebody-
Ms. King, when did you purchase this home?
If I may?
Yes, sure.
Yep, we bought the house March 27th of 2019. OfferPad bought the house. Y'all familiar with OfferPad? It's a national realty chain. They buy houses, they, do some improvements or whatever. They flip the house, make a huge profit. They bought the house in January 18th of 2019. Had the house, in their hands for a month and a half maybe. And they bought it for $120. They put it on the market for $148.
And what did you end up paying for it?
We paid $158.
$158.
We were determined to make the winning bid. We had lost, like my wife said, we had lost 3 previous bids, and it really is a game about who comes in early and who comes in highest.
Okay.
And we thought it was a good value at the time, really did, because, the houses in Charlotte are even more expensive. But it looks like, according to the last letter we received from y'all, you had marked it at 149.6 is what you evaluated the house at. Today, you've raised it up to 189. You've raised it another $40,000 since the last letter we received.
So the 147 was the previous tax value, is that what you're saying?
The previous tax value was $69,000.
Okay.
Which was too low. We concede that was low. What we're asking is that you accept what OfferPad paid for the house in 2019, which is $125. I think that's fair. You're getting a $60,000 increase on the value of the house. Since the last letter we received from y'all, you've raised an additional $40,000.
Okay. Ray, you got any questions for the Kings?
I think she wasn't quite through, if that's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I was just gonna ask that you all read these for yourselves, and then I will take back up at the end,
Just go ahead, proceed.
okay?
And we at the comments.
We moved to Union County to retire, to be closer to my family. My husband, Mr. Donald Todd King, is a graduate of Wingate University, class of 1987, and liked the idea of being close to Wingate. We like the location of our home, but let's be honest, the neighborhood has its share of crime and low-performing elementary school. There are many scattered, dilapidated homes in the neighborhood, driving down home values. OfferPad Company bought 402 Riggin Street in January of 2019 for $125.
120, actually.
Thank you. They did basic repairs, paint, carpet. There were no additions or major upgrades to the residence. I think a more fair assessment would be $125. As my good friends at WSOC would attest, this is becoming a major problem in Mecklenburg County. Seniors and those living on fixed incomes, those near the poverty line, can ill afford their taxes double in 1 year. That's what have proposed 69,000 raised to 149.6.
Actually, it's 189.6 today. That's what you've asked. You've raised it another $40,000 in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, and with that being said, I hope that you all will give us consideration. And I appreciate your time listening to us. Thank you very much.
Hang on, don't leave yet. We're gonna ask some questions. All right, Ray, you got any questions?
Yeah, this office pad company you said was a flipper,
OfferPad is the name of the
OfferPad,
company.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
and they paid
120.
$120,
$120,000 in January of 2019.
2019. And you paid 158?
Yep, they listed the house at 149. And like I said before, we were determined not to lose it. You know, we thought it was a good house, and so we made a winning offer.
Okay. So you're saying, because you recently, well, 2 years ago, paid 158, right? And you want to drop it down to 125, but you're saying that's all the value we have on it is due to market conditions, correct?
OfferPad bought the house for 120. What they did to the house was put carpet down and paint the
And flipped it.
interior.
Flipped it.
They turned a profit of $30,000+.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. Andy?
Judge?
What you listed in here is your comps. Are these actual sales or are these just back?
Those are the tax valuations.
So they're not sales?
No, sir.
Yeah, and did you have a chance to review the comps that the county had, which were sales? It looks like in close proximity.
I didn't receive a copy.
Yeah,
of
and
that.
they were all August of 20 through October of 20. So I mean, I haven't reviewed them thoroughly, but I mean.
I have
they're-
not seen that, sir.
Yeah, there are 5 or 6, it looks like, comps sales, you know, here that are very close, it appears to be, to the Riggins Street address to you. And I was just curious.
For every comp you're talking about, I can give you another comp where the house is $50,000.
Yeah, and I'm talking about sales now, not.
Right,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I don't have any further questions at this time.
Okay.
Mark, you got anything?
Yes, on this, you stated it was tax assessment value, is that correct on this sheet, not sales?
Which one?
These 4 you have listed here on your second page, top of the page?
Those are tax evaluations.
Yes.
2020.
Okay, it is 2020, 1220. That's what I'm asking is the values that you said they are, is it from the latest revaluation?
2020,
Or is
yes.
it,
Yes,
it is
2020.
latest revaluation?
2020.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Are
I
the
have-
comps, did you also verify the comps that you used to be a similar square footage?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
A little late.
He wants to know if
Sure.
we did the square footage.
Our square footage of our house?
No, the comps
The
that you
comps.
used,
These,
are these similar square footage of the houses?
Several of them are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? So, and Ms. King, we're all hoping that Concord Avenue gets paved. I'll tell you what.
Well, it's just not Concord Avenue, it's Pfeiffer is
Oh, yeah.
terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Walnut Street has a
Potholes like you
hole
wouldn't
as
believe.
big as my head.
Cherry Street, Walnut Street, Pine Street, they're all terrible.
Makes you feel any better. I asked the city manager about Concord Avenue, and he said because that road goes into a state road, which is 601 ultimately, that it's up to the state to pave that. I didn't like that answer, but that probably is true. So, but anyway, thank y'all. We're gonna hear from the county now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question
Sure.
before we close out. How do we get unlisted as a daycare?
That was, no, I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Randy, we're willing to speak to all that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Run the whole thing. I'll explain.
And your name?
Joe Hunter.
Joe Hunter. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear from the county. Hey, Joe.
Good morning. To the best of our knowledge, we thought it was a daycare when it was revalued for 2021. We never had any kind of notification or anything like that, so the best that we knew, that's what it was. So that's, when I got the original appeal, they were asking for the 125, and I had it appraised as a daycare at 149,600. And I just briefly glanced at it, I said, okay, well, you paid 158 for it. I got it appraised below that, no change, okay? I didn't research or go out and look at the property or anything just because of time constraints, because we have so many appeals. Well, then we got the BER appeal further, and so I just said, well, let me just ride by and look at it and see if there's something about the property that, we might could work with before we even get to this point. So I rode by it and I said, wait a minute, this is a house. So I consulted with Phil and he says, okay, let's let Alan handle it because that's his area, he does the residential side. So what I did is I talked with Alan and we both got together, we went out to the house and we measured it and then he took his part and he's going to speak to that. This is like a tandem deal here, so he'll be talking about the comper and the values, but that's basically how we got to this point. So when he listed it as a house, it's worth more as a house than it was as a daycare up in a residential area. So that's the reason for the increase. So are there any questions on that?
Ray?
No, I'm good for now.
That's,
I'm good for now.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let
Just
Alan.
waiting on Alan.
all right, let's hear from Alan. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, and I apologize to the taxpayer for not getting the comps out. We were waiting for our comper software to update. We just got this report generated yesterday, so just didn't have enough time to get it to them, so I apologize for that. Like Joe said, once we had it changed over from commercial to residential, the value then became $201,000. As Joe said, it was more valuable as residential than commercial. I then ran it through Comper, pulled some comps right in the area, which you all have, and I was able to lower that down to $189,600. And all these comps are very close. You can see the map on the first page.
Okay.
Okay, oh, and just to clarify too, on the information that taxpayer provided with the comps, he's using the tax values, those or the 2020 tax values, not the new 2021 tax values. And I
Okay.
provided this in there for you. These are the new tax values on those.
Where did you provide that?
It should be behind them, should be in there behind the map, or behind the comps, I mean.
Okay, got it.
Probably be good, I think, maybe to share that, with the taxpayer, as well, so they could see that and know the difference.
Sure, yeah, I can give them
Okay.
this copy, yeah.
We never received a letter from them either.
Okay.
We got one phone call.
I got a question on your comps.
Sure.
Look at comp number 3, approximately the same, well, it's a little more square footage. It's on Concord Avenue. You got what's the value on that house?
The tax value is comp 3 is 127,200.
Okay, with that in mind, with about the same square footage, how come that's so much lower than these guys?
Well, the subject property is in good condition versus average condition, so that's bumping them up a little bit based on their depreciation. Because
$50,000 worth?
well, I think based on the depreciation of comp 3, my guess is that one might be in fair condition. I don't know off the top of my head on that one,
Okay.
but that would be my guess, just based on the depreciation and the year built, because
Okay.
it's not too far off, so that would be my
Okay,
guess.
thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Dutch, got anything?
I don't have any further questions.
Mark?
No, that's what I needed with those assessment values. How, I know they're all King Street, so this is their neighborhood is correct, right?
Yes.
And these comps are in their neighborhood kind of, okay?
Yeah.
Today, on our letter we just gave y'all, I wanted y'all to look at 108 Riggin Street, and there are also 3 other houses on that street, 103, 105, 107, 108 Riggin Street.
I don't have any more questions.
Al, can you add that to your list, please? 103, 105, 107, and 108 Riggin Street.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Here, address the board when he's speaking.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, one thing, kind of to follow up on Alan's response to Ray while I go about comp number 3. Comp number 3 does adjust out to, once the sale prices have been adjusted to the subject, you can see down below at 137.3, but it is one comp within 4 comps. And the other 4 comps adjust out at 204, 191, and 178. So yes, it is the outlier at a lower price.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Tab number 3, parcel ID number 07075016H. That, the gentleman accepted the staff recommendation.
Okay.
People say, but he accepted. So number, tab 4, 5, and 6, and 7 are no shows. So we move on to tab number 8, parcel ID number 093160005C, Wanda Lanning for Food Lion.
Can the county pull up that location for us? This thing, they need to get that computer to pull that location up for us.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you? I'm Wanda Lanning, and I'm representing Food Line on their property.
Yes.
This is a owner-occupied food line that they own a few of those. Usually they lease all of their facilities and all their stores, but this is one that they actually built and they own it. Got an estimated of 35,787 square feet on 4 acres of land. It has an adjoining, which is part of this, an adjoining 2 acres, but with a different value on it. But I have decided to come up with a market value on this because there's very few, and I think this one was built 2019. I had one other grocery store that was built in 2017, and it was turned around and resold, and so I'm using a market income approach to come up with a value instead of a sales approach. And I've got several different stores throughout the state that are standalone stores where people own those and then they lease them back to Food Line. So I've tried to use and stay within their market and their income to use a market approach for a value on this, an income and expense approach to get the market value, I'm sorry. I've used an average of $9 per square foot. I've had anywhere from the newer food lines or grocery stores, anywhere from 7 on up to $9.50 per square foot, depending on location, the size, and how new they are. So I did use a $9 per square on this one with a CMA average rate of 25 cents per square foot. And I came up with a average income this would produce of $330,974. I used a market expense of $76,000, and that does include the taxes that would be paid back out, and I used, as well as insurance, management fees and things like that. Reserves, I used 2% reserves, and came out with a net operating income of $248,000. Used a capitalization rate of 9%, which is, capitalization rates, when I was going through, run anywhere from 6.5% up to about 7.75, but I added the tax rate from last year back into the capitalization rate, since I had included that as part of the income. And came up with a value on this property of $2,760,000.
2 million what?
$760,000.
Do you have any idea what, two factors, what Food Line paid for that land and also what they paid to build that building?
No, I did not get that information from them.
Okay. The square footage you used, the $9 square foot, were those new food lines like this one, or were they older food lines?
One was 2017. The other one, it was right along the same age. So they're pretty close to this. And that's pretty standard. That's a market standard across. I know Mecklenburg used that whenever they had their last reval. That was pretty standard for what they were using within their county for a standard market rate for rents.
Now, how many acres are in this particular tract?
4.4 acres.
Okay, 4.8. And just remind me again, how big is that building, square footage wise, the heated, or whatever you want to call it, or?
35,781 square feet. And I did include the CAM as if it would be a triple net lease. These leases, and anytime it's usually a 20-year lease when they first do these buildings.
Can we ask you some questions? Other questions? Ray, you got any questions?
Good to see you again, Ms.
You
Lund.
too.
Been a long time.
I know.
Got a question for you on your calculation sheet.
Okay.
The expense management ratios and all that, is that information from 2020 information?
Is that
Income statement information? What financial information, what year was that used?
That would have been, that is more of like that is not actual. It's more of like a market, and I gathered it from appraisers who have done it, across the state, what they were using for market, mainly Mecklenburg County,
Okay.
being right outside. And that does include your administrative costs, your everything, and the taxes is included in on that they pay.
Okay, thank you.
Dutch, you got anything?
Ms. Lanning, were there any comparable rents or that you had in your analysis
Within
within
This
the
area?
county or of similar properties or?
Now, I didn't get those. I got markets. I do about all of Food Line's work throughout the state.
Right.
And so even what's owned by companies where they're the
Tenant.
main
Yeah.
tenant. And so that's what I've used like to come up with that market rate. I didn't particularly just, hit certain ones. Depending on the stores, I do have where they'll go up, like on some of the stores, the grocery stores that are a little bit higher end grocery
Right.
stores. That tax rate, the rental rates will go on up to about $11 and $12 square foot, depending on location.
Right.
It'll go on up to that. With food lines, I don't know how most grocery stores are. A lot of what brings their rent down is any kind of upkeep that they do to their building, like if they just change the floor coverings, their ceilings, Food Line is responsible for making any repairs, any upfits, or anything else like that to their buildings. And then depending, a lot of that amount of money comes back out in their personal property side, and it's not part of the real estate side. So it does keep that rental rate low because they do take care of everything that comes through.
Right.
Especially on a standalone building. I've got one standalone that's, their rent is $6.06 a square foot, but they take care of all maintenance and upkeep.
Right. Okay. Good information. Thank you.
Okay.
Mark, you got anything?
No, I mean, it's good information. I just wish you'd have given us more information as far as these comps you're talking about, where you're grabbing them.
Okay.
You know, that's all.
And I
can-
apologize for not
Yeah,
putting
it
that
would've helped.
together.
No other questions?
Well, thank you, Ms. Lanning. We'll hear from the county now.
Okay.
Right. I just received this information, so I haven't had time to look at it, research it, confirm it.
You talking about this?
Right. I
Okay.
just received it, so I'd like to ask for this to be tabled. And she's representing hearings 8, 9, and 10. And we've requested information, we haven't gotten it until just now. So,
Good.
That's fine with us.
okay.
I
We'll
make a
table all
motion
three of
we
those.
Yep.
Ms. Lanning, are you all right with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Randy, you want me to make a motion in that? To
I'd like you
table
to.
I make a motion that we table the Food Line properties. I don't know which hearings there are. 8? Is it 8, 9, and 10? Should be tabled until the county gets further chance to review the information.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign, no. Thank you.
Tab number 11 and 12, they're going to be rescheduled. Tab number 13 is a no-show. We move on to tab number 14, parcel ID number 09226-127A, NCI Monroe LLC, Mr. Dave Palowski.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, I have not received comps, the county's comps. I would like to take a look at those. Is that something perhaps I could have 5 minutes to do and then see?
Sure, absolutely, you should, yeah, absolutely.
have in the county is going to be Waxaw. Yep, Waxaw. It was a CVS, it was a motion, it was always
Oh, possibly.
Hey, Joe, while you're sitting down, pull that property up if you don't mind. This is my favorite Walgreens, by the way.
Oh, is it? Well, I've got some bad
I-
news.
Regretfully, I have to visit them a lot. I'm highly drugged.
Well, better living through chemicals. No, there's a phrase about that. I forget what it is. So, better life through chemicals? No, that's not it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Well, I think, I don't want to hold things up. I understand, you want, so I'm ready, essentially.
All right.
Well, if I may
Please.
address, okay, I would like to talk with you. I guess the subject is this Walgreens on Skyway, and I'm hoping that you all are familiar with this location. It's not far from here, but I did want to start off with just kind of highlighting what I think are some key points to keep in mind. I do think it's fair to say this is a declining retail area. There's not a lot of retail on this Skyway corridor, and what's there tends to be older. The largest retail presence is the Monroe Plaza, which was built in 1967. The county, I think roughly the tax value works out to about $30 a square foot, maybe $33 a square foot. The subject's assessed at $111 per square foot. But declining retail area, but also there's not a lot of vehicle traffic on this corridor. The latest traffic counts from the NCDOT show that there's about 15,000 cars per day on Skyway. And there really isn't a significant cross street that bears any kind of meaningful traffic. So it's limited vehicle traffic. And the other thing too, which is that it is definite, Walgreens will be vacating this location in 1 year, January 2023. And that lack of a tenant, that really means it's not an investment property. So no tenant kind of changes the interest level by the market in this property. But also it's important to note that this is a larger size property, and that because of its size, about 12,000 square feet, 11,000 square feet, that does limit the potential users out there in the marketplace. So that's another key fact. Also, a fourth or fifth key fact is that this Walgreens location has a history of low gross sales, and declining gross sales. And on page 12 of the materials that I submitted, I have a summary of those sales. The county has the official Walgreens sales reports, but in 2015, the sales were $1,189,000. In 16, it dropped a bit to $1,150,000 gross sales.
Excuse me, I hate to do this. What, you said page 14? Is
Page
in our
12.
book?
Page 12, it was in the materials that we submitted on Monday, and there's basically a little grid on the left-hand side of the page that has those
Has
sales.
anybody found it?
No, I'm looking, I hadn't found it yet.
Oh, I think I found it. I just didn't see page numbers, that's why I was.
Sorry, they're a top left.
Is this it?
Top left, and actually it's going to look like this. And I hand wrote in there page 12, but on the top, I guess, left-hand corner of each page, you'll have the page number, and it's basically just looks like basically blank with a couple of boxes
Is it
on it.
that?
So it should be one page before that.
One page before.
Yeah, all the way towards the back.
Okay.
So that left-hand box here, that has the summary of the sales sheets from Walgreens. They submit this every year as part of their lease. And so you can see kind of how this store performs over time. And so at 16 was $1,150,000 in gross sales. In 17, there was $1,142,000 in gross sales. 18, $1,013,000, so it's declining. And then there's a big drop-off in 19. It goes down to $700 and roughly $30,000. And to give you sort of a frame of reference, I used to do development and for fast food restaurants, Taco Bell, KFC. An average to middling fast food, Taco Bell, KFC, their gross sales will be about $1.5 million. So for a Walgreens that's much larger, 10,000 or 12,000 versus 2,000, to have sales of 730,000, that's pretty weak. And they have, they're selling prescriptions and a lot of higher margin goods. So the owner thinks these are very low sales. I tend to agree, and I think these sales are an indication of the weakness of this area as a retail location. And if you look at if you zoom out and look at a broader picture, and you probably know this, but I do think there's not a lot of population that's located near this store. And if you're familiar with the area, I think the population that is there maybe doesn't have a lot of disposable income. So those are some key facts I would say, keep in mind about this location as a retail location. And so my concern, I guess the concern about the appeal, is that this property may be misclassified, and that it's our contention that this is one of the poorest drugstore locations in the market. We're talking about the metro area, Gaston County, Hickory, we're talking about the Charlotte metro area. And I also kind of remind you of the stereotype that, we've all heard it, is that your typical drugstore location, it's, front and center on the corner of a signalized intersection, main and main, with lots of traffic. And I don't think this location really fits that stereotype, because it's not at a signalized intersection, it's not really main and main. You don't have really two major thoroughfares or arteries that people traverse. So it's, I think what we're seeing is that, there's lots of sales of drugstores. They've been an active part of the market, but I don't think a lot of those are truly comparable to this location. We think this is probably one of the weaker locations in the market. So what I think we should be doing, and I guess one of the requests, is that we should be looking at sales of closed drugstores. There's a fair many that have transacted in the market, so that's not uncommon to see these. And then next, we should be looking at those that are in comparable areas. And I think that's really the big issue here, is that, that stereotype is true to some extent. Main and main, prominent quarters, this isn't really that. And so comparable areas, I think that's where there may be a disconnect. But we do want to talk about comps. And on page 7 is a listing of single tenant retail comps. And the first one is a vacant Rite Aid. And the page should look like this. And this first one, and the county actually uses this as a comp. It's a former Rite Aid in Gastonia, and it sold in September of 2020 for $95 a square foot. Now, our subject property is valued at $111 per square foot. But the contention here is that this is a superior location. There's a newly developed Harris Teeter nearby. This is a higher income area. This is a country club that's nearby, behind the Harris Teeter. The traffic counts are different. The main drive, the store is located in south of Gastonia City proper, but the main artery is Union Road 274. That has traffic counts of 22,000 cars per day. The cross street, which is Robinwood, has 18,000 cars per day, so much more vehicle traffic. And this page, this information came from Baker Haynes, who's a appraiser with Integra Realty Resources, and he gave a presentation to the local CCIM chapter in January. And he was going through these comps, and he says, yeah, there's a lot of vacant drugstores that are transacting. The typical price for these ranges from $75 to $100 per square foot. I think our location, the subject, is a weaker location. It should be valued at the lower end of that range. But that's the source of this information. And on page 8, we have another comp. This is 2206 West Franklin, also in Gaston County. And it's a former Rite Aid. And this is one of several that was marketed by Catherine Southard, and you may know her father, Van Southard. He's a broker who's based in Union County. But the point is, Catherine's with C.B. Richard Ellis, one of the largest real estate companies in the world, big platform, lots of resources. It took her 2 to 3 years to lease or sell these former drugstores that she was marketing. So that's typical for these things. They tend to stay vacant for a long time. And it goes back to there's not a lot of users that can take that large space. But this one, and again, this is just the marketing flyer that she put out there. I would say this is superior. If you look on this next page, it shows that there's a Walmart Supercenter right across the street on the next corner. This former Rite Aid is also at a signalized intersection. The traffic counts are higher. 74 has traffic at this area of 15,000 cars per day. And then the cross street Myrtle Square Road has 12,000 cars per day. So a lot of vehicles moving around this location. And you'll notice that from the market materials, they were asking $1,250,000 for this property. It sold in February 2020 for $550,000. And that works out to be $45 per square foot. And I think it's a superior location. And it sold for $45 a square foot. The one I just spoke about that sold for $95 per square foot, I do think that sale should be adjusted downwards. It's a superior location, given its location, the demographics in the area. My request would be if that sold for $95 a square foot, a 15% adjustment would be reasonable, and that would bring it down to $80, $81 per square foot. So 81, that would indicate a value for this store of $900. If you go to this other Gaston County Rite Aid or drugstore, it sold for $45 a square foot, which translates to this one to about $500. So we think that's the range. $500,000 to $900,000 is the market value based on superior sales, but the closest comparable sales we could get, which we do think are a little bit superior to the subject location. And of course, I did mention the retail center that's valued at the Monroe Plaza on Skyway that's valued at $33 per square foot. But to begin to wrap things up, I do think the county agrees that this is a weak retail area. The county's land value is $338,000. That's $5 per square foot. If you look at pretty much everything out on Roosevelt, 74, you'll see values ranging from $10 to $25 per square foot. So the fact that the subject's at $5, I think we agree that, hey, this is perhaps not a strong, vibrant retail area. This is not the best located drugstore, that's out there. And I do think that $338,000, that's the floor value. That's the land value. These things are either re-tenanted or they scraped and redeveloped to a convenience store or something like that. But we do think the building has value. The county's value for the building is $920,000 roughly. That's about $81 a square foot. You can build an industrial building for around $50 to $55 per square foot. So, and this is likely to be vacant for a long time. So I do think we have information from the sales comps, but we should be looking at income too. The IAAO says that you should be looking for income properties. We should be using the income approach as a check on the sales comparison. And also that's just North Carolina law. For income producing properties, we're supposed to be looking at the income method as a check, or we should use that as part of the analysis. If that hasn't been done, I've got a little concern about that. But we think, looking at the income approach, the county's website shows that market rents in this area are $7 a square foot. If you go up to Monroe Plaza and look at, there's a CoStar report in there that shows market rents for a space, 5,000 square feet, a little smaller, at $7. It could be lower. We think 9, typically in good locations, vibrant locations, rents are 9 to 12 for these drugstores. This one probably is weaker, could be 7. So we think 7 to 9. 10% vacancy seems reasonable. These things are vacant for 2 to 3 years in a 10-year holding period. That's a very significant vacancy. So 10 years, 10% vacancy seems reasonable, given that these are typically vacant for a while. Expenses are typically very minimal. It's a reserve, a management fee of 4%, a reserve of 4%, that's 8%, and a cap rate. You know, in this report here, a Rite Aid with Rite Aid as a tenant, so that they're a national company, thousands of stores, their cap rate's 9%. We think a 10% would be appropriate for this store with no tenant at all in it. And that range of rent, $7, $9, they would indicate a value of $650 to $800. So again, we think $500 to $900 is the market value for this location, for this drugstore, and perhaps not the strongest retail location. That's what I
All right.
have.
Ray, you got any questions? Dutch?
I don't really know how pertinent it is, but it just kind of keeps catching my eye, those declining revenues in 2019. Was there a period of time there where, from the transition of Rite Aid to Walgreens, where the store was closed?
I don't, candidly, I don't know. I didn't think to ask that. It's a good
Right.
question. I tend to think not, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, okay. And I can't remember if that timeline was about right, but I kind of remember the transition of it, but I can't remember.
I'm sorry, yeah, I don't know, for sure.
All right.
No questions.
Well, let's hear from the county, if you don't mind. Thank you, sir. And pronounce your last name for us.
It's Pulowski.
Pulaski.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Born and raised in North Carolina. Nice Irish name.
Now, do you work for Walgreens?
No, no. This is the guy who owns it is George. He owns it. He knows he's got a vacancy coming up. I mean, he bought it because there was a Walgreens in it, and they've given him notice that they're leaving, and so he sees the writing on the wall. So, but yeah, George is out of Chicago, I think. But yeah, nice
Okay.
elderly gentleman.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And would I have maybe a chance to make a couple of final comments, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Space.
Okay, we've got some good information. David's provided some good comps, and some of our comps overlap. We did look at some of those sales, we looked down, but, you know, we're back to dark store theory. We're looking at vacant properties. This property's not vacant at the time. It may be going to be vacant in 2023, but right now it is a functioning store. There's no denying that this is not one of your greatest retail areas, and that's why we're at 1.2 million, and we're not at 2.8 million like we have on used to be a Rite Aid, now it's a Dollar Tree. We have that appraised for 2.8 million because of its location out on 74, much better area, basically the same building. So we're not at 1.25, we're at 2.8. So that's kind of our standpoint that we're looking at. I think at the very back of your packet maybe is, I have a spreadsheet of comparables that I found on CoStar.
Now, is that in number 14 back of, where is it?
Should be maybe the very end of your packet that you have, the very last, what's the last page on it?
Is it 12?
You're talking about in the counties.
14.
Yeah. Yeah, after the divider. Okay.
All right, so I'm down from the very bottom of the 14.
Should be a
Yeah,
spread.
I'm on 14. All right.
What
What does it look like?
It's got improvement data at the top of the page?
It should say up at the top, should be headings like address, location, use, date. No.
Okay.
The other one.
Well, I'm at the back of my 14, and I'm going forward, and I don't see one like that.
It's the third page from the back.
Where is it in their packet?
It's right behind the appraisal
Great.
stuff.
I got it.
Yes, sir, that's it.
Good, thanks.
Okay.
Page numbers really don't help me when they don't have page numbers
Right.
on the pages.
I don't have the page number either.
Kind of tricky.
Sorry.
Welcome back.
Is everybody on that?
Yep.
Everybody
Got
look
it.
at that? Yeah, we try to be fair about it. I've got sales ranging from, we got an outlier at $45 a square foot all the way up to $192 a square foot. The lowest sale that we have in Union County is a CVS, that's the second one. It sold for $168 a square foot. And if you look about midways, that's where the subject is, that's us. We're at 111. So the comparable that was also presented was the Robinwood, that was like two spaces below where we are, 3691 Robinwood in Gastonia. According to CoStar, it said it was $102 a square foot. There was a sale, and it turned around and resold. So if you look back up the list, it's under contract right now. Went under contract in 2020. It's at $148 a square foot. So that would show that it is, it's a superior area, no doubt. But like I say, it was dark when it sold, and that's what we're looking at, is dark stores. It's not quite as bleak as it appears, because if you look at all of these, if you look down that list, a lot of these, when they do overlap, and they close some of these stores because they've got too many of, when Walgreens, when they bought all the Rite Aids, some of them are going to close because you can't have that, they don't have that much business. So there are other uses that have occurred on these. And if you look at some of the ones I've got, I mean, there's a Dario, which is a restaurant, an AutoZone, City Trends, a community college, a car dealership. So there are alternate uses. If this does go dark, there are other things that this could be. In fact, the Skyway Shopping Center that's right behind here has a City Trends and a Dollar General that I feel like would be interested in this property. But that's my opinion based on, my knowledge of the market. But if you go back to the sales, I think that we're well positioned at $111 a square foot. That's going to be the lowest of any of our drugstores that we got in this county, by far. So that's the comparables that I have to present, and that's our rationale and reasonings that we are at the low end at $1,250,000. That is the low end.
Any questions for the county, Brett? Dutch, any questions?
No.
Mark?
So what you're saying is you can't predict the future and what's going to really happen to the property, but in our position here on this board, we're looking at what the property is worth on January 1, 2020, no matter who looks ahead or who looks back and how it's going to work out.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
No other questions.
Thank you. And we'll hear, Mr. Pulaski, we'll give you a few more minutes.
Thank you. Since these comps are new, I would like to address these. We did know in early 2020 that this Walgreens is going to go dark. So they gave notice, they gave a letter before the valuation date. And that makes a big difference, because almost all of these sales are investment sales. And so people are buying real estate, but they're buying more than real estate. They're buying an occupied building, so they're buying credit. So they're buying Walgreens credit, and the fact that they're not going to likely not pay their rent. And they're also buying term. So there's more than just these. A lot of these investment sales involve more than just real estate. In fact, this Boulder Group survey, these are one of the big sellers of drugstores, and they show in their grid saying, well, the value, the cap rate, really matters depending on how much term's left. If you're at 20 years and you're a Walgreens, your cap rate's 5.5%. If you're a Rite Aid, well, you're at 7%. But if you get down to 5 years and you're a Walgreens, you're at 7.6%. Big difference in value because of that cap rate, what people pay when there's that limited term. And when you get below 5 years, you get to 1 year or no year, the cap rate goes up and the value changes. So I know Joe mentioned a CVS, but there's a CVS active in there. And so that term, affects value. The fact there's a tenant in there, so that influences value. So that one really kind of isn't comparable. And a lot of these, I think, are the same way. I know we talked about the one in Gaston County on Robinwood Road, and we said it sold for $95. CoStar said $102, but it did. It's funny. It sold for $95 a square foot in September of 20. and it turned around and sold, and they re-tenanted it. They put in City Trends, which is a off-price or a it's a discount clothing store, retail. And they put City Trends in within a couple of months, so they basically put in new flooring, painted it, same exterior, but put up the signage. And they sold it in January. So September, paid $95 a square foot, minimal improvements, got a new tenant in, and so it became an investment property again, and it sold for a $1.6 million. And you can back into the rent that City Trends is paying for that location. And they're paying basically about $9 a square foot. But that was a superior location, lots of traffic. City Trends, you know, the buyer was able to flip it quickly, knowing that, hey, this is a good location. This is, you know, this is right by New Harris Teeter, by the Country Club, good demographics, high traffic counts. It's all the stuff that a retailer would want. So it's a little bit different animal than, and so as I go through this list, these comps, I can look at all of these and like, this is investment property, tenants in place. This is the one we just talked about, the Robin Wood store. Harper Avenue, again, this one's also has a, looks like it has a tenant in place. But if I go through, in this list of comps that the county's provided, here's one in Stanley. It looks like it sold for $75 a square foot, and it looks like it's still, you know, it's a similar, you know, property. It's a no tenant in there, which is really what I think we should be looking at. And so in here, there's another one. This one is at Northwest Boulevard in Hickory, $45 a square foot. So it corresponds to what I was talking about, is that we really kind of need to look at true comparables. No credit tenant to influence the cap rate, and really just what's the value of the real estate, the dirt, in that building. And typically, the building doesn't have a lot of value. They're going to try to repurpose 12,000 square foot building, but the market data points to that 500 to 900,000. You know, there are locations that sell for more. There's one on North Graham in Charlotte. It's being bought by Quick Trip. You know, it's sold for $1.7 million, but that's not for that's just for the dirt. That's because there's a lot more traffic there. So again, we got to really make sure we're looking at what's the dirt worth, and this we think is kind of a weak piece of dirt.
Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. Of this list that, Joe's list, which ones of these are actually dark? And which ones are? Sir?
Well, what was that answer, Joe?
Okay. I see that.
It'll have vacant beside it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see that.
like Queen City.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
right, egg, right, yep.
All right, Bella?
Okay, we are ready to deliberate. Hearing number 2.
What are we gonna do about number 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Dutch.
Mr. Pulaski, and I just still kind of hung up on this. On that revenue that was generated in 2019 where it fell off, so do you know what the revenue was in 2020?
That, Mr. Novogroder did not have that report. He couldn't put his hands on it, so
Yeah.
I didn't have it. He couldn't find it. We do know that they typically reported in April of each year, so
Right.
it was, and in April of 2020, they gave the notice saying, hey, we're not going to renew this lease. We're terminating when their lease ends in 2022. So I do not have those 20
numbers,
sales.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I think
Can I, you now finally told me the information I didn't know. The lease is coming due in the end of 22 or 23, is that correct?
Yeah, and I've
And they
got,
gave notice, Walgreens gave notice to the investment property owner.
yes, that's,
George, I think was his name.
Yes.
Anyway, if that is done, right, does George or that investment property, are they like, have a rent for sign up or anything? I know not at the building, but are they not looking, or is it not listed as a possible location for someone else? Is it in the marketplace? You know how you do.
not yet, because right now.
See, not yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
Walgreens will pay through the end of their lease term,
Well,
which is
that-
coming up.
I
But then after
understand
that, it's, George is gonna have to find a new tenant, and that's what we're concerned about.
But he hasn't made an effort.
Has not done that yet.
Got, so we're still dealing with 2021, 120, all right? No
How long
problem.
was George on this building?
I would need to look at the tax record. I do not know. It's, it was built in 97. We're looking at a 20-year lease term. I think he's owned, I'm not sure, Brad, do you have the sales history?
Right here, looks like, May of 2014,
Okay, yeah.
purchased for 1,510,000
At that time.
at that time.
Based on the, and again, that's the thing, that's a little bit misleading about investment sales is that George lives in Chicago. He never, I mean, I don't even think he's even seen it. He just wants the Walgreens credit, and it's like, that's not real estate. That's the confusing part about investment sales is that they're buying dirt, but they're also buying who's in it. And that's credit and also that term. And so that, I think.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'd look at it that way.
yeah.
I don't have any more
Thank
questions.
you.
I'm just
Yep,
looking.
thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm good.
No,
All right, so we're ready to deliberate, and we're gonna start with the no-shows.
Please.
Number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 13 are no-shows.
Okay,
do I hear a recommendation that we accept the county's value?
So moved.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no. Thank you.
We're gonna deliberate on hearing number 2, parcel ID number 092299050.
Okay, this is the one they bought, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
You okay?
You're in order.
All right, they bought it in 319 for a 158. The tax value, who's, is Alan or Joe?
Alan spoke to that.
Okay, they left.
Yeah, they
I
will.
just, okay, that's good. All right, so, tax value is 189.6, is that correct? On the property now?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I have some additional information. The taxpayer, spoke to 4 other properties
Yeah.
just before he left, that he would like for us to take a look at them. He addressed Alan and the board.
Those on Riggin Street, did he mention?
These are in his area, community there. I had Alan go back and print these. They are on Riggin Street, King Street, right there in the same community, if the board wants to look at these properties. None of them have sold within
That time
that
period?
time period. We had, I think, 2 sold in 18, but none in 19 or 20. But I did have them for y'all to look at if y'all wish to look at them.
I didn't want to ask the question, I just always hesitate to ask a lady her age, but was she eligible for the elderly exemption or not?
Have no way of
Yeah,
knowing that information.
and
But if the board wishes, we can
I
definitely
always
reach out to
hesitate to
them.
ask that question.
You was born at night, just not last night, right? That's right.
Is that something, I mean, whether we go ahead and rule on it, I mean, but is that something we can still explore?
Oh, yes, sir,
Yeah.
most definitely. We can reach out to them.
Right.
And I'll, let them know of those opportunities.
Yeah, because it's age and income though. you
Correct.
know, Okay.
That's correct.
And in their case, it'd be joint income.
Correct.
Okay.
I was looking at this, the comps in here, and when I asked the county about number 3, about the same square footage, and the condition is average, like, I think they said it was below average, but it's on here, it's average. Same as the other ones. So I would recommend we drop it to a 155, somewhere in between, from the 189, but that's just my opinion.
Any other thoughts regarding that?
Yeah, I see where the quality's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, number 3 is at 137. This doesn't seem right. Anyways. Dutch maybe 175, 170, something like that.
Trying to,
Okay, that's comp number 3 you're talking about, that was 137.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me, knowing that they bought it in March of 19, okay? And they were willing to pay 158, okay? That's where I'm stuck, trying to go below that.
So you're thinking.
And even because we all know and I know that's probably not the typical market area, you know, that you look at, but we do have some comps, okay? And these comps are in the 20s. Now, you picked number 3, right, to use your thing,
Yeah.
but then, you know, you gotta look at, well, what about 1 and 2 and their values? I mean, that, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you base it on 1, which is number 3, yes, you
And you're
got a
saying-
good point, but I'm saying, well, what about comp number 4, right? That's just, you know, my fault. Because what we gotta do, and that's why I made the question about this.
Yeah,
The
okay.
tax assessment, you know, is for equalization in that neighborhood. Are you changing it much? No.
Yeah.
So, but,
So you're saying it should be at or above the 158 they paid for it, yeah. Right.
yeah,
I see your point there, yep.
I mean, we,
And the tax office is at 189.6. I'm just seeing conflicting numbers here, but are they at 193 or are they at 189?
We're at 189,
Okay.
6. And just one note, I think Mark just made note of it. The values that they quoted on their document as being the tax assessments, those were for the last reappraisal.
Right, yeah, that's
They're not
what I thought,
valued.
that's what I thought when I saw it.
So the inequity is not as it appears.
what are those values now? I
I'm
know
not sure
that's
if I have
terrible.
that in my documentation here.
That's the only thing I care about is equalization, you know,
Right.
if it is, you know,
Well,
should
I
they
can tell you
pay
that
too
the
much?
same tables and model is applied throughout that neighborhood. All properties being equal will have the same value.
And the only thing, see, we can talk about comps all you want to tell me. Comp number 1, it has 1,270 feet. All right, they have 1,955. Comp number 2 has 1,886. You see what I'm saying? By size and your footage really does matter in
So
some
you're,
of.
yeah,
My first take is, I think the county nailed it. That's just my opinion. I think what OfferPad gave them, what they paid for the home 2 years ago, I hate to say irrelevant now, based on values, but I mean,
Yeah. It still circles back. I don't think they provided enough evidence.
uh,
You know.
so you recommend no change, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's what I was going to recommend because of the information we've gathered, but.
Yeah, they didn't provide.
But you mentioned your point, and I didn't want to say no
which is a
to it.
good
'cause
point, yeah.
it's- I'll let Dutch make a motion.
There's a motion on the table, isn't there? So how do we deal with that? Yeah. Did Ray make a motion?
I amend my motion for no change.
Okay. I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no, thank you.
Okay, tab number 3.
To put with that, though, you're going to check on the elderly exemption?
Yes,
just-
I'll-
Yes.
Okay.
We'll
Please
reach
do.
out to them, let them
Yeah.
know their options.
Right, okay. I'll let you.
Where's
ask them about it.
that threshold at? 65, 70, what is it?
65.
Yes.
65?
There's 31 income limit. Single or joint.
Okay. So 30, well, they probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that include social security and all that kind of stuff? It does.
Receive this income.
Yeah, that's probably,
That's not much love.
probably not gonna get it.
No.
No.
All right, Bella?
Okay, tab number 3, the gentleman showed up, but he accepted the staff rec. He is to send an email stating that he's accepting this, the value from the tax office.
Okay.
We just need y'all to vote that
Yeah.
way since he came in and it was a staff
Right.
rec at the time.
All right, so do I hear a recommendation, we rule with the value of 139.8 on this particular property?
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, like sign no, thank you.
We read for number 14, parcel ID number 09226127A.
he had a lot of data, but, you know, I just felt, I couldn't follow him, which is probably my fault. But then again, you know, his concern about not being able to rent it again in 2023, I just don't,
Yeah.
I don't look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know, he might find somebody between now and then that might be willing to pay more. I don't know how that goes. But as of right now, I think the county's kind of reasonable on it.
Yeah.
From what we know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if y'all wanted to discuss it any or what.
I agree with you. I mean,
So you'll make that formal recommendation?
I just wanted to discuss it a little bit and
Yeah.
see if I was stepping on anybody.
no, I mean, we can't treat it as dark.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You really can't.
Yeah.
And I think that was his biggest push, and
Right.
I'm not saying everything he said was wrong, I'm just saying that this is
No,
what we
'cause
have to deal with.
Yeah. And I feel like there's been consideration given about the location
Sure,
and the lack of,
I do.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Here a second?
Accept the
I'll
county
second.
fee.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign no. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to staff recommendations. We have tab number 3 and number 15 for real property. Oh, I'm sorry. Tab number 15 is
15.
real property.
It's a
It's
staff
a
rec-
staff recommendation.
Okay, so the value then is.
Can we just rule on all staff recommendations at one time?
Well,
What-
16 is a business personal
Yeah.
property, does that matter? It's up to y'all.
Let's go your method. Let's do it one at a time.
Okay.
Just in case.
Okay.
I make the motion that we accept the county value of $10,840,700, is that what y'all?
Second it.
Second,
Ray.
Mark made a recommendation, or the motion, Ray seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign no. Thank you.
Okay. And tab number 16 is a staff recommendation too, and that's a business personal property.
That's a staff rec.
Yes.
Make a motion, we accept the staff rec.
Got a motion by Ray.
Second.
Second by Mark first. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no. Thank you.
We're done. We are ready to adjourn now.
All right. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
All right, second. All in favor say aye. Thank you.
Who's second? I'm sorry.
All right,
Mark.
go ahead and
Mark.
give Mark.
Give it a rec.